All right, wrapping up your thoughts on your feedback on round 3, I am curious to debrief with all of you a little bit. What was that exercise or experience like? Were you able to adopt or practice, use some of the models or things we talked about today? Any thoughts on the role plays? Yeah.
Role playing, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh man, if I did that in real life, it would have been bad. So this is, I think, really helpful for maybe, spinning it a little differently when it is real life.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we practice, right? I know that our gut reactions, sometimes are hardwired and they are what they are and the way we speak, but those things can be adjusted with practice. And so I do encourage you to take this idea of these role plays and practice scenarios with you, use them with your colleagues, and continue to get your mouths around the right kind of words and verbiage for feedback and the structure around how you can do that in a clean and straightforward way. What else? What other thoughts? What did you observe? Any aha moments? Was it worth getting into some groups and role playing to try some of this on? Valuable? Yeah.
I think we're dying to know what the pathophysiology was here, because we were wondering, a lot of us came up with the same first step, which is really delve into this person's life and try to figure out if this is an abrupt change, what may have contributed to that in this person's life. And there was a lot of things we came up with, but that's why the case is a really curious one, because there's such a mixture of issues.
Exactly, and that's why you can role play this one 3 times, because it should come out in different ways, right? That you can bring to life a different person within an environment through some of these things, and it is a mixture of presentation, but isn't that how complicated people often are? And so I like your point about having that, empathy and trying to understand what's going on for a person if there's an abrupt change there.
One thing that I found difficult about role-playing this is that I feel like if I was giving this feedback in real life, I'd be doing a lot of watching the other person's body language, but the other person in all these scenarios, we are also in the dark as to what the underlying motivation is, and so it's hard to be authentic about some of that in this environment.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Got one over here.
So I think sometimes it's really difficult to get to the solutions when the person is staying defensive, and so you got to get past that before you start finding the solutions. And I think one of the things that really helps in terms of finding solutions is to give the person that you're giving feedback to acknowledgement that they're valued, to make them feel that they're genuinely valued before you go on with reaching solutions.
Yeah, I've kind of heard the sandwich method or rule of, giving some affirmation while you're giving some feedback. I mean, certainly I think there's some merit to, making sure that someone's not totally deflated when they leave a room with you after giving them some feedback. I mean, sure, people need to digest and take that information in and improve their performance if needed, but you absolutely have a point about, trying to be that, positive coach and leader and support for someone as well in your roles. Now, there was one more over here.
I think one of the things that we found hard without kind of meaning to was that there were so many things to tell this person. Like, we tended to just focus on the coming in late, and then I think a couple of us got to mixing in more of it. And I think this is one where you'd really have to have a lot of time to make this list in a way that it's not just kind of piling on the negatives. So I thought that was an interesting part of it, because we all just naturally started with the late and couldn't, and pulled in a couple of them, but never quite got to all the things that was wrong.
And maybe that's the easy one to sort of start with and correct, right? So notice your own resistance to even leaning into what could potentially be a conflictual conversation, right? That we have to manage potentially conflict, resistance, denial around some of these things within ourselves and within the person who we're, having this conversation with. Really good point. Any other thoughts?
I actually don't think it's terribly unreasonable to take a stepwise approach and to look at the intervention that has the most concrete metric to measure and to see if you can correct before you start attacking or addressing the softer ones that are more, build trust and show the person that you're talking to that you have the faith in them that they can actually change, and then let them be proud of that change once it's made, and then start addressing some of the other ones.
Right, maybe to all of your points, this is not a 5-minute conversation, go figure, and maybe it is several conversations that need to happen, and maybe you find yourself in a situation where your employee is exhibiting a lot of resistance and can't get there in that conversation, and you have to come back to it, right? And that's how you exercise your empathy, your relationship management, your social awareness, and all of that, right? And also, as you all pointed out, you have to manage your own feelings, thoughts, and reactions, maybe disappointment in this particular employee for the behavior, those kinds of things as you go into it. And one of the strategies, I'll mention these couple of books here. These are great. Daniel Goleman, this is kind of the staple on emotional intelligence, and this Emotional Intelligence 2.0 is awesome. If you are interested in a really straightforward, quick and easy read that has lots of resources. This book is like $12 on Amazon, and it talks about different methods to managing with more emotional intelligence, like by managing by walking around, and how you can just change some small behaviors around how you lead to, better engage with folks. So I recommend both of these. Like I said, Daniel Goleman is really our staple around emotional intelligence, but I find this book to be really, really accessible. And like I said, both under around $12 on Amazon. So there's your plug and the credit where the credit is due to the researchers who really know the most about emotional intelligence. So I really appreciate your feedback on this. I appreciate you giving me a few extra minutes as I went a couple over so that we could get into these role plays. So you know the things we covered today. I really appreciate your time and your engagement. The discussion was really rich and great today. So it's just been a pleasure being here with you. I'll stay around for a few questions and things like that, but I just want to be mindful that some of you might need a break before you get on to the next thing. So I hope you have a great conference, and again, thanks so much.